What's up, everybody? My name is Tucker. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Denver Nuggets. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like rating on it. Check out my socials up there, and let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so the Denver Nuggets have gone on a spending spree over the last couple of days, and I feel the need to talk about it, talk about what this means for them, look at their salary cap table, and just talk about how all in this team is on really pushing for a title. So the two new contracts they handed out were, most recently, Michael Porter Jr. signing a new 5-year, it's reported as 217, but it's actually 172 as of now. 5 years, 172 extension. That is a max rookie extension. That 217 number comes from, if he makes an All-NBA team this year, that becomes a supermax rookie extension, like a bigger version of the rookie max extension. That's where the 217 comes from. And then, of course, they also re-signed Aaron Gordon to 4 years and $92 million. The table over here is from Basketball Reference. These are their numbers with the exception of the ones that are highlighted because they hadn't added in the extensions for these two players and then the Jokic extension that I'll talk about here in a little bit. But other than that, these are all Basketball Reference numbers. They're always, as always, super, super helpful for these videos. So the reason this is important, the reason this is interesting is because you see at the bottom of the screen, the Nuggets are already on the hook for this upcoming season, $163 million, well over the salary cap, $167 the following year, and $158 the year after that, and $148 the year after that. And there's really not that many players on the roster. So what that tells you is they have decided on a core, and that core is Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray when he comes back and is fully healthy, and of course the reigning MVP, Nikola Jokic. And they have decided that after years of drafting well, after years of trying to figure out where the roster should go, they have picked their 4 players, 3 of which are going to be on a max or a supermax, and the other being Aaron Gordon, who they brought in via trade last year. And it makes sense to go this all in for this roster. Because had Jamal Murray not gotten hurt last year, I'm sure there were plenty of people that would have picked that Denver Nuggets team to make the finals. A lot of people thought they were better than Phoenix and thought that if they didn't have to play the Lakers, which obviously they lost to the first round to Phoenix, they would have been a finals team. They looked fantastic after trading for Aaron Gordon, and these deals show that the team feels that way as well. And it's just interesting the level of investment here. So let's go through it. These are just average annual values. I just did, 172 divided by 5 and put that number in for Michael Porter Jr. Same thing for Aaron Gordon, 92 divided by 4. These won't be the exact numbers, but without me knowing what they actually are because they haven't been put out there yet, these are what we're working with. Porter Jr., this just kind of speaks to where we're at now with rookie extensions. He certainly deserves this full max, this 5 years, 172. However, keep in mind that when this guy was drafted, the reason he went in the late lottery didn't have anything to do with talent, didn't have anything to do with his skill set or his physicality or his athleticism. It just had to do with his durability and his injury history. And it seems like a lot of that stuff has gone away. It seems like he's fully healthy. He's ready to rock and roll. This is a significant investment, though, in a player that not only did have durability concerns at the time that he was drafted and as a result slipped in the draft, but also is obviously a very, very good player at a young age, but still has plenty of room to grow and develop. But this is just how rookie max contracts work. If you show the level of promise that Michael Porter Jr. has, you're going to get a max extension, just as Shea did in this draft class, just as Luka did, just as Trey, although I think all 3 of those guys are more proven to this point than what Michael Porter Jr. has shown. He needs to continue to grow as a perimeter defender because they are going to need him to. Gordon is a good defender. He's kind of a fill in the gaps, versatile guy all over the place. But if Porter Jr. is going to be a starting wing for this team, he needs to be more than just a scorer. He needs to grow defensively. And then offensively, there's still a bit of an over-reliance for me personally on the three-point shot. He needs to grow and develop more parts of his game other than just chucking threes. But there's been every indication that as long as he stays healthy, he's going to continue to do that and thus be worth the contract they sign him to. And then Gordon, I really like this number for him. There are people that are telling me that the 4 years, 92, it's actually probably going to be less than that because there's some unlikely bonuses involved in his contract. But still, even if you leave it the way it is at 23 a year, I don't think that's bad at all for Gordon. When he's in this situation specifically, when he is very clearly the 4th option offensively behind these other 3 guys, when he can just run up and down the floor, play in transition, hopefully space the floor off the ball, but even if he can't do it at a super high level, we know that Jokic can, and then the other guys that they put on the floor obviously will be able to shoot as well. Love having Aaron Gordon on this roster, and I think this is a super, super fun core of 4 guys. The other number here, so the 2 extensions in green are confirmed, they've been signed. The orange one is Nikola Jokic's projected supermax extension that'll kick in 2023. He hasn't signed it yet, but he won the MVP, so he's eligible for the Supermax, and the Nuggets are going to give it to him. So that number is just basically already penciled in there at what will be the largest contract in NBA history at the time that he signs it, assuming that the salary cap does not drop significantly at the time that he signs it. A bit of a wild card for me here, though, is, of course, Jamal Murray, and him coming off of a significant leg injury. Granted, we've seen guys come back from knee injuries and things like that and be basically the same player. Things have really certainly advanced in terms of players and medical staff's ability to get guys back up and running and back up to speed after significant serious injuries. But that could certainly be something that could hold this team back if he doesn't come back and he doesn't end up being who Jamal Murray was before he got hurt. He is as good as Porter Jr. is offensively and should continue to be as nice of a piece as Aaron Gordon is, and obviously the MVP level play of Nikola Jokic. If Jamal Murray isn't the offensive hub, the perimeter playmaker, the guy that is running everything with ball screens and things like that, if he's not that guy, that definitely holds this group back. But what this all points to me is a group that is all in on trying to win a title. And certainly with these four guys, I think we'll have every opportunity to over the next couple of seasons. And look at the ages of these guys. Jokic and Gordon are both 26. Porter Jr. is 23. Jamal Murray's 24. They've got all these guys locked up for at least 4 to 5 seasons. And they're going to, once they sign Jokic to a new contract, and they're going to be ready to rock and roll and just continue to be true threats at the top of the Western Conference. It's going to be a bit of a weird start to this year while they're waiting on Murray to come back. But the other interesting thing about this is that Denver has put themselves in this situation with a really nice core 4 here because they've drafted so well, and they're going to need to continue to draft well because they won't have any other assets really to be able to bring in good players when it comes to salary cap space and things like that. So Murray and Michael Porter Jr. are both mid to late lottery players. I want to say Murray was 7th and Michael Porter Jr. was 13th in the draft. Of course, we know that Nikola Jokic was a second-round pick, ends up becoming the MVP. They trade for Aaron Gordon using a couple of different pieces, but those pieces include Gary Harris, a guy that they got in the middle of the first round. And they drafted so well that they had to trade away someone like Malik Beasley, who's on a significant contract in Minnesota, who's a 20-point-per-game scorer, a very capable NBA player, a really nice wing. They had to trade him away just because they either couldn't or didn't want to pay him, and he was obviously quite talented, but they just traded him away because they had drafted so well that they could not afford to then also pay him in addition to these other guys that they had brought in or would bring in after trading him away. And we just don't have to talk about the fact that the Nuggets traded away Donovan Mitchell on draft night. But apart from that, they've drafted incredibly well. And like I said, they're going to need to continue to, because these numbers at the bottom of the screen, these payroll numbers, 163, 167, 158, 148, leave basically zero room for additions in free agency outside of your typical exceptions. In this case, it'll be the tax paying exception, so it'll be much smaller than the non-tax paying exception. And just in general, it's going to be minimum contracts. It's going to be using up parts of the exception. It's going to be trying to find a way to trade guys and move some pieces around to create some space. And as you look at their roster for this upcoming season, it's probably about as good as it gets from a depth standpoint for them over the next couple of seasons, barring some kind of trade or some kind of miracle draft picks that they do end up making, which is why it's unfortunate that Jamal Murray won't be ready to go at the beginning of the year, and they'll be kind of waiting around for him. Hopefully he's good by the time the postseason rolls around. But they've got a handful of different depth pieces. Ignore the fact that Will Barton and JaMychal Green's numbers are as high as they are. I believe that's a typo as a result of them accepting player options, and the spreadsheet messes with those. I believe JaMychal Green is more so on the $8 million number you see for the following season, and Will Barton more around 15, 16 you see for the following season as well. But Barton and Green are nice depth pieces. Bringing in Jeff Green, I've already talked about, is an awesome addition. Monty Morris is one of the best backup true point guards in the entire league. Austin Rivers can provide perimeter creation. Bol is still there for some potential upside. Their new draft pick, Bones Highland. They've got a ton of different options in this roster. And again, I say that to point out that if Murray can get back to being himself by the time the postseason rolls around, this is about as good of a roster as they're going to have over the next couple of seasons because of the financial commitment they've made to these four guys. But the bottom line is, it's very clear that the Nuggets, at an ownership level, at a front office level, desperately want to win and compete for a title, because you don't make this level of financial investment in young players, in non-star level players like Aaron Gordon. You don't make these kinds of investments unless you truly believe you are a title-winning team. And I don't think that they're wrong in that assumption, by the way, because Jokic is incredible. Murray gets back and is fully healthy. Michael Porter Jr. has room to grow. Like I said, I love Aaron Gordon's fit. They're going to have to consistently find a fourth option here. They don't really have an off guard. We're going to be seeing a lot of Monty Morris in the beginning of the season while Jamal Murray comes back from his injury. Will Barton can be that guy, but he's never really been able to stay healthy. And I like him better off the bench than I do in the starting unit as kind of an offensive spark plug. So they're going to certainly still be looking for who that off guard is going to be. Maybe there's another trade in the works they can package together, you know, Bone Tylen and Bobo and some other guys, maybe try and get that 2 guard somewhere around the league. But the bottom line is I love the investment by Denver. It's a ton on the line, but I love the all-in approach from them because they've drafted so well and they're doing it correctly. There's nothing fake about them going all in because this is going to be a very, very good team, not only for this year, but moving forward as well. And that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Check out my socials at the top of the screen as well. Hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Once again, my name is Tucker, and I will see you all next time.